have a chat with me as we're sweating in this heat that's out here.
So hot in here.
Yeah, but that's okay. We'll make do. First question is, are you gonna marry Mixie and Stitched Apart?
Am I gonna marry her?
Just kidding.
Depends who's asking.
Right. I just played. I remember at the show from the San Antonio show. I mean,
she's a super sweetheart. Yeah.
Yeah. I've known her for at least 5-6 years. I mean, we've been friends for a while, but yeah, everybody's a sweetheart. I mean, the first year of this tour was with Butcher Babies, which you're close friends with Heidi.
Yes.
And Stitched Apart was also on their amazing tour. This one is your headlining tour.
Yes, first headlining tour in North America.
Yeah. So how is it? Have you noticed like the difference when you're support as opposed to?
Well, it's hard to say because we were special guests on that tour, and because it was our very first time, it's very hard to say because a lot of it depends what drives people to go to shows. You know what I mean? Yeah. The only difference in our eyes was that our set list was smaller. That's it. You know, we don't mind playing first, second, third, last. We don't care really. Right. You know, so
just as long as you get to play.
Yeah. Just as long as we have the opportunity to share our music with people. Yeah.
Now, being that, of course, this is the first headlining tour for yourselves, does it give you more leeway to do what you want at the show? Does it make it easier to travel to venues that you want to hit yourself?
It's not really like that. We do work with a booking agency, and we work together on things like that. You know, it's not just us.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't even know what we would want to do that wasn't allowed or something. You know what I mean? Like it's fine. It's fine like it was.
Yeah. Now, being from Moldova, but you've been living in the States for a little bit. When you were first starting, was it hard to break out to start touring all of Europe and then now touring the whole world?
Not really. I don't really understand your question probably, but we toured Europe before I moved to the States as well as after I moved to the States. Yeah. So nothing really changed. The only thing is I would travel to work with my band and then go from there. Yeah. And now with the US tours, they travel here. So it's pretty much, you know, we're not the only band on this planet that musicians live in different parts of the, you know, of the planet.
Yeah. Well, I guess rephrasing my question was, for some bands, it's always, as they're coming up, hard to get to certain areas. Did y'all see it on your side? Is coming to the U.S. like a big deal, or is just another country that you visit?
Well, certain countries make it a little bit more difficult, which is understandable for many reasons. It's just documents, visas, and that was always like that before I moved here or after. I mean, I'm only one member of the band. Everybody else still needs, you know, all the needed paperwork and visas, and I still need visas to go to other countries. Like, you know, there's no big difference. Yeah.
My understanding from what I've heard from other bands that once they eventually come here is the visas to get to the U.S. is almost twice as hard to get those visas than other countries. And I don't know if that's true for everybody.
It depends where you come from. To get a visa in general is not easy, especially nowadays, because obviously there are rules and precautions of the countries. They are trying to avoid people to stay illegally in the country, and it's understandable. That's all it is. And as long as you show proof enough that, you know, you are traveling to share your music, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Now, you did also release a new album, Ecdysis. This album sounds a little bit heavier, a little bit angrier. Was that kind of intentionally?
Ecdysis was actually just the way we felt at the moment, just like any album before that. It was just the state of mind we were in, and we just wrote whatever was on our heart at that specific moment. Now, is it heavier? Is it lighter? Is it angrier? I don't know. I guess the fans would be the better judge for that, or the listeners. For us, it's still our music. It's maybe a little bit more emotional, but every single album is very emotional for us. So I don't know. I guess so. It has certain topics that are different than the previous albums, of course. Yeah, but I guess the listeners are the better judges here.
Right. Now, for your lyrics, I mean, seem like they're very personal when you're writing them. And like you mentioned, it's that mindset you're in at that time period.
Correct.
When you're writing lyrics at any time, do you feel like maybe you shouldn't share certain things about yourself?
Sometimes, but that was more in the past. I definitely had more doubts than now. Now I just write about everything all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I put it all on paper. Now, is it gonna be a song? Is it gonna be a part of a song or not? I never know. Like, I don't plan it unless I have the melodies and the music that my band has put together, and then I feel like, yes, this will go absolutely amazing with what I'm trying to deliver here. So yeah, there's sometimes certain themes and certain lyrics that I leave behind, but sometimes I come back to them in years or something. But being closer to your question, my answer would be no. There's almost nothing on the emotional level that I try to keep to myself. It's like my own therapy. So you have to be as honest with yourself in the first place, and then, you know, put it into music.
Yeah, and I guess that also transitions well for the fans. That's where they'll gravitate to you being honest with your feelings.
I feel like that is very accurate. I feel like a fan can feel when you're genuine. Sooner or later, if you're not genuine, or somebody else writes for you and you don't even feel what you're trying to sing, it's gonna come out.
Yeah.
But again, it all depends. I listen to a lot of music, and I definitely can relate to certain bands more than others because they are so good at delivering emotion through music.
Yeah.
So I feel like yes.
So I mean, of course, you've been on tour for a little bit time period here, and you were on tour last year too. Do you personally enjoy touring? I mean, what are some of like the best parts of touring and some of the worst parts of touring?
Well, I guess the worst part of touring is just getting places, because there are so much that can happen on the road. There are dangerous situations, there are dangerous people sometimes,
right,
at shows and after shows, on the road. So I guess that's my least favorite part, to always be 100% aware and cautious of things. And yeah, just like that is what tires me out the most.
Yeah.
But playing shows and visiting new countries, meeting genuine people, it's the best for sure.
Now, touring can be exhausting for people that don't know, because you're up to all different time, you know, throughout the night, trying to get to the next show. Like you mentioned, you have all these difficulties that play a part in it. So for you, what are some of the things that you do to kind of stay like emotionally, mentally, physically, you know, fit, capable to be able to continue?
No, I understand. Yeah, it's definitely for people that don't know what touring means, like they never tried it, or they never followed maybe even a couple of shows of a band to understand like certain things regarding the travel and expenses and situations and everything. For them, it's harder to understand. There's so much more to touring than people actually talk about. Oh yeah, like not enough sleep, not enough food, or not enough good food, or you know, like sometimes it's so hot that you just get so tired way before you go on stage, or vice versa. It's so cold that you can barely like play an instrument or sing, you know. So there's a lot for sure. The few things that help me a lot, one of the main thing is my dog helps me a lot. She's with me on tour now, and I totally feel like a different person on tour because I have her. For two reasons. She gives me a reason to go outside. She gives me like puts a smile on my face when she is playful. She sleeps with me, and like that extra anxiety goes away and stuff like that. So that's one of it.
She knows you're talking about her.
She knows. There she is. There she is, right here. There she is. She's super curious about you.
I know.
Other things that help a lot is actually staying very loyal to your habits and try your best to eat as healthy as possible, and try your best to be kind to your own body. That helps a lot. You know, the older we get, the harder it is. And if we are not kind to our own bodies, and we party hard, or we don't sleep enough, or we push our bodies to the extremes, it won't be possible to tour as much.
Yeah,
and that's the truth of it.
Yeah, and even for yourself, because I mean, you are vegan. I mean, it's got to be a little bit more difficult. You have to have more planning as to where you need to stop to pick up groceries.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit, but it's easier than people think.
Yeah,
it's way easier, and it's worth it, instead of having belly pain because you ate something fried or something old or something not fresh. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like myself. When I eat something, it's like, nope, I should have not had it. That's your body telling you don't eat it.
Imagine going on stage and performing with that sensation.
Yeah. I think I remember I was at one show, and I can't remember the name of the band, and they had to stop, go use the bathroom, and then finish performing. Yeah, it was kind of hilarious. But you know, yeah, for sure. So from previous interviews that I see from you, it's no secret that you're kind of an introvert, right?
I would say I can be both, but definitely with age I get more and more towards being an introvert, for sure.
Yeah. Do you find it difficult to transition to where it's time to perform?
So performing is absolutely a different animal for me. Actually, engaging with people after or before the show is a little bit is more of something I had to learn how to do, and teach myself how to be.
Yeah.
You know, because performing is a little bit different. It's more like my own therapy. It's way different. So performing is not a problem. No.
Yeah.
Never.
Now, do you find it emotionally draining when you do have to do interviews, constantly be in the press?
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's definitely not easy peasy, but
right.
I take it like part of my job, and I try to enjoy. Especially I enjoy when the questions are interesting. So thank you for having actually interesting questions.
Oh, sure.
It's more difficult when people you have to deal with are arrogant or not prepared, or I don't know, late, or there are so many situations, so many, and that's when it gets really difficult, because you have to keep it cool and be professional. Yeah. And that's the most difficult part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, like you mentioned, as we get older, we were like, okay, even myself too, if I don't have to deal with people, I'm fine. I could go the rest of my life without having to deal with it. But I mean, you having Luna here with you, I mean, these are kind of gifts that keep us going. Another thing, I also know you're a very avid reader. I mean, you're always posting on your socials about all these different books that you're reading. Is there any particular books that you always come back to where you'll read again?
Yes, for sure. However, lately I am trying to discover newer instead. And in fact, I purchased so many new books that I just didn't have time to read lately. We've been touring a lot, and it's just a little bit more difficult to read when you're in movement. But absolutely, there are definitely some books that I'll gladly go back and reread at least a couple of pages, like books from, I don't know, my early 20s, or books that I even read last year, for example. So of course there are some books that are more like the non-fiction books that are like more to learn things, and you have to remind yourself certain things, because we're human beings, and we don't always operate well, No,
we don't. Well, just like your lyrics, I mean, we're parasites. I mean, that's one of those, that lyric specifically itself has resounded so much with me, because it's like, you just see it on how we're just so selfish and don't care about anything else, and then we complain, oh, the world's terrible, and it's like, well, you can change, you can make a difference in this.
Yeah, but unfortunately people don't believe that by changing their own habits they can change the world. But Michael Jackson said the best, change the man in the mirror.
That's right. Yeah, you got to start with yourself. And otherwise,
absolutely,
you're going to have the same outcome.
And don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of not doing things properly. Have to remind myself, and that's why you want to reread. And the most important thing is you want to surround yourself with people that are also have the same mindset as well. That's very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah, I mean, the lineup that you have, you know, in the band, I mean, has been consistent. I mean, it seems like you all support each other very well.
I mean,
even
like
when
in
you
any
interact, it's like a big family.
Like in any family, we do sometimes have moments where we don't want to see each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, of course, yeah, we've been together for a long time now.
Yeah.
Like the same people in the band.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, because
I love it. Absolutely.
For fans too, you get to see the same people. I mean, for us, it's only the second time seeing you in the States, but as time goes on, you get to see the same
Thanks
people.
to internet, you can see what's happening.
Yeah, for sure. We did have this downtime. I mean, everybody knows COVID happened, but for you, do you feel like it was because, I mean, you had been touring for an extensive period of time, trying to get the band to everywhere. Do you feel like it was, you know, even though we did have some tragedies, but that it was like a nice break to be able to slow down a little bit?
Obviously, from the point of view of the band's career and in general, you know, the show business, of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not. It put a big dent into everybody's career.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to performance and touring and recording and everything, you know. But when it comes to the world in general and the nature and the benefits of the planet and just you having me time finally to maybe reunite with your family, you know, people that were working a lot and they finally had time to be with their children and loved ones and stuff like that. For me, it gave me time to finally put together a vocal studio that I've been wanting to have forever. It was my dream to have one in my house, and I did it with the help of my band, with the help of the fans. I built it with my own hands. I put it together and I use it, and it's so much satisfaction. So I think from this perspective, of course, it was very much needed for everybody, but in the first place for the planet itself. Yeah,
it's impressive all the positive changes that happened with the planet.
Yeah.
And even, you know, I know there's no way to avoid that there was, you know, too many deaths. You know, one death is more than enough. But it gave time people to reflect, stay in homes, just like you mentioned, spend time with family. And now we're having that side effect, like nobody wants to work anymore.
Oh yeah, that is very true.
Nobody wants to go do something that it's not worth doing anymore.
Yeah.
Now we're like, at least seeing a silver lining to where I need to focus on other things instead of just things that are not going to last or they're not as meaningful.
That's society for you.
Yeah, for sure. Other exciting things, I mean, not only are you on this tour right now in the US, but you have another tour coming up across Europe. You're hitting some big festivals.
Yes.
Finally, those big festivals are on again.
I know.
Is there one in particular that you're like, oh, we haven't played that before?
Yes,
I'm so
absolutely.
excited.
I mean, all of them, but this specific one, I remember jumping around the house when we were actually supposed to play, before COVID it was announced that we were going to play there, and it's Wacken. And when
I would love to go to that.
When COVID obviously started, it was postponed and then cancelled and all that, and this year we are finally going, and yeah, we are very excited for that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, I haven't kept up with myself. Do you know if they're going to limit the amount of people in there, or is like awful?
I don't know. Every single country has their own rules, but there's to say that the rules have been smaller and smaller with time. So I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm jealous of all the amazing festivals that are on that side of the world.
There are a bunch of festivals here in America as well that we cannot wait to be part of as well.
Yeah, but I guess, you know, for me personally, is the type of music, you know, that doesn't get played on the radio, the local radio and things like that, or at those types of festivals. You know, I mean, here, I mean, even in local stations, to try to get them to play Infected Rain or something, I mean, they're not familiar with certain bands, and it's kind of a disappointment because I mean, it would be nice to.
Yeah, I mean, all things considering, we are already almost everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, our team is very strong, the label is very strong, and the distribution obviously is very strong, so we are very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, and I mean, y'all had signed on with Endorphin, and that seemed like it opened up a lot of doors for y'all.
It helped a lot, but then COVID stopped it. So
yeah, it was a kind of a kick. But
yeah. It was just like we started the car and started going fast, and then all of a sudden we had to hit the brakes.
Yeah,
you know. So
yeah. Unfortunately, you know, your album had released, and then COVID had hit, and then other bands were like, we have an album to release, and we can't do nothing with it.
Yeah.
But luckily, everything's somewhat back to normal.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
We are here.
Yes. So when you're going back to Europe, are you going to be able to visit home while you're there? I mean, any downtime to visit?
I am not sure I'm going to be able to. I'm not sure at the moment. We are still planning the entire route. Yeah. And but we do have some days off in between, where we might just either take a small vacation with the band somewhere, or actually everybody will go visit their family. Maybe I will go to Italy visiting my family, because everybody lives there.
Yeah, and it's quite a bit an extensive tour, because you're starting at the end of June and going all the way to the beginning of September. So mid-September. Yeah, so it's quite a long trek.
It is.
Yeah. Do you feel that, you know, do you get to exercise to where you can stay healthy that way too? Does it make it easier traveling that way?
Obviously, the best exercise is on stage.
Yeah.
The cardio we have on stage is insane. Nothing like that you can have in the gym. Like, and no matter how much I work out when I'm not on tour, I'm never in that shape as I am on tour.
Yeah.
But I mean, I try. It depends how we travel and what are the conditions, and it depends. Sometimes I work out and stretch way more on tour. This tour, for example, I didn't have physical ability to do so, because I am just dealing with some health issues, small ones, that stop me from getting a big workout or like the amount I would want to put in. But still, as I said, the amount we do on stage is plenty.
Oh, of course. I mean, when I saw y'all last year, I mean, the stage that you were on, y'all deserve to be on a larger stage. I mean, because everybody's all over the place. Yeah. It's a sight to see, which leads into the next thing for anybody that hasn't experienced Infected Rain live. Or I don't know why they wouldn't have. What is something that, you know, they could expect?
Just an awesome time. Awesome music, awesome time. I'm a big fan of my own band, so I will only say good words about it.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not? I mean, the music has melody, great lyrics to people they can relate to, and I'm sure that, you know, lyrically and musically, it's got to be surreal to when fans come and tell you, your music helped me during X time.
Yeah.
It helped me get through
We
some
get
dark
that
stuff.
all the time, and it's very touching. Very touching.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's not your intention when you're writing. It's not like you're thinking, let me write something that's going to affect somebody.
No, absolutely
It's just that what they relate.
But we are all human beings, and in a way or another, we all go through very similar things.
Yeah.
Very similar things, you know.
And we all have our faults.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, before we finish up, any parting words for fans? You know, I know we can't talk about secret stuff that's in the background, but anything we talked about, the new tour that you're going to be coming up. You do have a few dates left in the U.S.
Yeah.
Anything else you might share with fans, or, you know, parting message? Just
stay tuned, because there's still a lot of behind the scenes that we are working on to release, and we are hoping to have very, very soon our Devil's Dozen DVD actually having physical, hopefully this year.
Awesome.
Yeah, other than that, we'll just tour a lot and hopefully have, you know, all of you at our shows.
Yeah, and for anybody that doesn't know, you have a Patreon, you have Banana's YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's super easy.
Some of the other band members also have some Patreon.
Yes, it's everywhere.
Got to support.
Thank you so much. Yes, support the people you believe in, support the bands you believe in, and the music that you love. Support, support, support.
Of course. Well, Lena, thank you again very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Of course, thank you.